president says we still will. In fact, I quote him telling Republican leaders at a private meeting in the White House that he's not going to withdraw if only, even if his only supporters are Laura and Barney. Mm-hmm. Now, Laura is the first lady, right, and Barney is his dog.
Yeah.
I don't think has a vote, yeah, in all of this.
And in terms of the amount of information we get from the administration, the amount of information you can get from the administration, how much of the total picture do we have? I mean, certainly books like this give us some insight and shed some light, but in terms of what's really going on, do we know? Can we ever really know?
That's a great question, and this is about as close as you get to the real inside story. There are memos, there are accounts of meetings, but I remember last summer with my wife Elsa having dinner at 200 people, and we wound up sitting next to Al Gore, who was the vice president in the Clinton administration. We got into talking about the war and his unhappiness at, I think there's part of him that thinks he was elected in 2000. and you know, and it was pretty heated, and so I asked that question. I said, what amount of truth do we learn? Now, you were vice president for Clinton for 8 years, and you saw everything, you knew what was going on, so what percentage do we know? And he said, 1%.
Really?
I kind of, 1%, and quite frankly, I thought to myself, you mean there are all those women we didn't know about?
Wow.
Only 1%, and I said, well, suppose you told all you knew, mm-hmm, and wrote a tell-all memoir. And he said, no, he wouldn't do that. And I said, but suppose you did, how much more would we know then? And I was kind of hopeful it would be 90%, sure, right, or 52%.
2%.
So you don't know, yeah, what you don't know.
I mean, he may have been underestimating this to make a point, because it seems like maybe 50, 60 years ago, maybe that was the case. It's hard to believe that it would still be that low now, isn't it?
I hope so, yeah, but it gets you up early, yeah, in the morning when you're in my business.
In terms of a strategy, is there a strategy? Is there? I know Henry Kissinger is saying to pull out is the ultimate failure. You've got to stay and stay and stay. But is that the strategy? Just wear everybody down with this?
Well, it turns out that the strategy is kind of out of the Kissinger playbook. Victory is the only meaningful exit strategy. Well, victory is not. It's a goal. It's like if you meet with your producers and brilliant writers before a show and say, okay, what's our strategy for having a good show tonight? And somebody says, make it funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't. We don't have those meetings. All of that and more. Another bestseller for Bob Woodward, State of Denial. Thank you very much, Bob. Always a pleasure. Good to have you here. Thank you. Let me ride, everybody. Back with Joseph Arthur.